There was a crucial meeting that the Prime Minister held, a high-powered meeting to discuss a four-pronged strategy to revive India's manufacturing sector. A man who was part of that meeting joins us now to discuss India's growth story. Planning Commission member Arun Maira. Mr. Maira, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Before I get talking to you about that specific meeting on manufacturing, let me ask you about the general slowdown in the Indian economy. There is a sense that things have gone from bad to worse. You at the Planning Commission had done a scenario planning, and for the very first time, the Planning Commission had put out projections on what the Indian economy could look like if there was no policy intervention and no reform action. It pretty much seems like the economy is going to be heading towards the worst case scenario of under 5% growth rate.
Yes, unfortunately it does appear like that, and for reasons that were anticipated in those scenarios, because we had determined what are the actions that are necessary to get the plane to lift and to keep flying high, and I think we haven't taken those actions sufficiently, and we started taking them very late actually. So therefore it is stalling. The situation is a situation of concern right now.
It is a situation of concern, Mr. Maira, and even today the government is putting on a brave face saying that we will get a growth rate ahead of 6%. 6.7% is the most optimistic scenario that the government has put forward. Do you believe that anything above 6 or even 6 is almost impossible now?
Well, we said that we will get 4.5 to 5%, that's 4.8 actually, that NCER has put a rather precise number. The average for the 12th plan, if we don't do certain things. Now, if we do those things, we know that we could get to almost 8% average growth in the 5 years of the 12th plan. So we must focus on what are those things, and then if we do those things, we'll get the best outcome that we can get in the present global circumstances. And so what are those actions? Well, in a nutshell, they are about, if I can say, fixing the wiring of the place. I think there's been too much hype and emphasis, and much of it from the financial markets and perhaps the media, to say what are the big ticket announcements that you're going to make to inspire confidence that things are moving in India. The real investors have for quite a while, and these include Indian firms who have been investing in India and growing in India for decades. Why are they not investing more in the country? Why are they putting their investments outside? So it's not a matter of opening up the economy, inviting more investments. It's about conditions inside the economy which are not producing results for investments that have already been made. So there's been a grinding halt almost, but there's been a grinding slowdown of implementation of projects, of policies, of agreements, and even when policies are announced, they get unraveled because there aren't agreements around what needs to be done. So in the scenarios, we have determined that focus on getting things done by getting people to bang their head together and come to agreements, and thereafter good project management, as it were, to anticipate things that have to be done, plan to do them, ensure they are done on the ground, and in the policy making is what is necessary. It's about implementation. Right.
You know, Mr. Maira, as you pointed out yourself, that it's not just about attracting foreign investment, because FDI is clearly not a panacea to all our problems. It is also about enabling domestic investment. But, you know, we haven't really seen that happen. Even though we've had the CCI being set up, some decisions have been taken, but the capex cycle continues to be stalled. You know, there is a sense that it's a little too late. The kind of changes that we require are surgical. It's not incremental changes that we need. Even at today's meeting, for instance, we're given to understand that there were some specific measures decided as far as reviving the textile sector, the steel sector, or the civil aircraft manufacturing sector is concerned. Whether we need one or not is a different story altogether. But all of that can only be implemented at least 12 to 18 months down the line. What happens now? What happens in the short term? The crisis that we're facing currently is immediate.
Do the things that need to be done, which we've just described very broadly, and do them in a very determined fashion. As I said, we can get the plane to lift again after these 12 or 18 months. And that is what our projections show, that the growth can be quite high in about 3 or 4 years' time to bring the average up to what the NCR numbers are projecting. But they are provided we do what we know now we need to do, which is about, as I said, coordinating, getting more collaboration, more systematic planning, more implementation. We can get our economy moving again. The confidence in people inside the country that, look, when there are bottlenecks, they are removed, they are anticipated, they don't even arise. Good management will make the present investments, which are not very productive, produce more, projects move, which will invite more investments in the country, and so the virtuous cycle will start.
But Mr. Maira, none of this stuff that was discussed at today's meeting is new stuff. It's not something that we don't know about. These issues have been on the table for years now. We're talking about the same issues: land acquisition, faster environmental clearances. We're still stuck at the exact same place. So what gives you confidence that even in the next 12 to 18 months, we will actually see some of these changes that were decided upon today being implemented, considering the fact that this is a lame duck government?
Yes, you're right to say that. Look, we know knew long time back that we've got environmental problems and land problems. Let me say that for the last 25 years we've been talking about labor law reforms. There's no point just pointing out the things that need to be done. We've got to start doing those things. And then to do those things, you've got to build the capacity to do those things. And what are those capacities? As I pointed out, we are having a lot of contentions between different stakeholders, between different agencies in government. Now, are there ways to put them together, to compel them to think about something larger which they have to get together and to find solutions and implement them? There are ways to do this. And we are recognizing that that's what we have to focus on. It's not once again saying, hey, let's debate the land issues, let's debate the environmental issues, let's debate whether interest rates should be up and down. Those are on the surface about what needs to be done. But how are you going to do it? And are you applying yourself to the how to do it? And I'm finding that, thank goodness, like in this conversation, we're beginning to focus on that. And we know how that needs to be done. There are things that will have to be done at the high level, at the cabinet level, to break bottlenecks there. So the cabinet committee is a good thing that's been set up. Then we've got things, as I might say, at the intermediate level, which is like at the state levels, and those need to be done and focused on, and there are ways we are finding as we're going to the states that, and as you know, some states recognize it, and they're taking credit for the fact that they're good implementers, and others recognize that they could also be good implementers by approaching problems the same way. And there are many more things which are much lower down on the ground, and they could also be done by applying systematic ways to get them done.
Well, let's hope that that systematic way of finally getting all of this done, the government does move forward on that path. But Mr. Maira, always a pleasure speaking with you. Appreciate you joining us here on India Business Hour. Up next.